Welcome back to Amazing Allies. A lot of the locations are split into 2 or 3 pieces with a checkpoint. We don't get to equip new power-ups between checkpoints though. We just have to keep going. At least it saves our data. This game is part platformer, and so there are platforming hazards like this ventilation shaft, which for some reason hurts us more than a gunshot, so be careful about that. I guess this place is getting wrecked anyway, so I can't ask the management to take care of that, but someone should probably look into why that would happen in the first place. So these new guys in the black outfits, they're a lot more durable than everyone we fought so far. Have like twice the health bar, maybe 3 times. They also give us 3 times the experience though, so I'm perfectly cool with that. The thing about Black Spidey's punch combo is that we can accidentally cancel one of the punches if we press it too fast. I think that's intentional though. Another destructive ability unique to Black Spidey is his ability to stomp through floors. This is also a regular attack that can be used in combat, but it's not very useful. We can't even hit enemies lying down with it. We equipped Amazing Strength 1 right now, which is a power-up that very slightly increases our strength, but it's enough to notice at least. A lot of the power-ups come in different tiers, and the effect of the power-up increases depending on which tier you use. It can be easy to play this game with an RPG mindset and hoard all of the power-ups, but you really don't want to do that, because the regular combat is pretty tough on its own. Man, we are just fucking everything up.
It's a human spider!
The normal combat is tough enough that you really shouldn't hoard any of the power-ups, because the power-ups make the game more interesting. You could play this game without using them if you really wanted to, but that's just a lot less fun, so why would you do that? I am a little upset that the icon doesn't change for our health bar when we switch to Black Spidey. Just a little, though. I mean, it's very clear they had no budget. There are a whole lot of enemies in a group down here, and this is an example of when using Red Spidey is a terrible idea. Because Black Spider-Man has that charge ability, after all, which allows us to knock over a ton of enemies at the same time. Assuming they aren't currently in their invincibility frames, of which they have many. For some reason the enemies seem to have invincibility frames while they're running at you, and I'm not quite sure why this is. They're only vulnerable while they're attacking, or while they're standing still. I guess I could see this would be frustrating for some people, but I've gotten so used to it that it doesn't bother me anymore. You might notice that this piece of floor is colored differently, and there is a reason for that, but we can't interact with it yet. Hey, you got to see me juggle a guy as Black Spidey. That's probably not going to happen a whole lot.
Either my spider sense is tingling, or I'm having a stroke.
So this begs the question, if this is insurance fraud, why do we need to save Duhart's daughters? I guess you could say that the Shocker and these guys aren't very discerning folks, and they may not really care if, say, his daughters get bashed up in the process. Maybe they're just stupid. And Shocker doesn't seem like a very stable guy anyway. I like that they have the effort of spawning new enemies by having them walk out of doors in the background. You might wonder what Entrenched does, and as you might have guessed, it stops us from getting knocked over for a very short period of time. Unfortunately, I don't use it right here because that would be the smart thing to do, but you will get to see it eventually. Again, jumping in the air and slamming down on their heads is a really quick way to escape nasty situations. I guess if you didn't figure out how to do that, the game might be a lot more frustrating, but it's not that hard to figure out in the first place. Red Spidey has another method to get enemies away from him, but we'll see that eventually too. I suppose there aren't many distinct enemy types in this game. I mean, they all look different and take different amounts of damage, but it's not like you can point them out individually for their intricacies either. Over here, we can see a power-up in that other wall, but we can't reach it yet. Let's remember it's there. So a lot of enemies suddenly flood in from nowhere as soon as we find his daughter. His daughter doesn't seem very concerned though, she's just kind of waiting over there in the foreground. I mean, there's not much the bad guys can do about it, they can only move on two-dimensional planes. It seems that since she's figured out the secret of 3D movement, she doesn't really need our help. But we gotta put on a show anyway and try to help her out, it is the Spider-Manly thing to do. I mean, I guess they are blocking the doorway. Not much she can do about that. The music in this game is surprisingly lively, I appreciate that. Okay, don't look at me like that. She was being a total asshole, and we cleared out the bad guys anyway. There's that power-up we couldn't get earlier. And they make a different way for us back, which I appreciate. No real backtracking here. I don't know much about fancy hotels, but is it normal just to stick vases up in the wall like that? Is that considered fancy? I think we might be doing more damage to this hotel than the bad guys have. It looks like it's in pretty good shape, aside from us. I can't think of a good reason why we can't just punch our way into the panic room. You know, you're a little out of place here, buddy. You see how these guys are all in uniform? They're even wearing dorky helmet mask things, so it's harder to identify them. Oh yeah, we used entrenched now, which means we can't get knocked around, as is evidenced by that red glow around us. We kind of get stunned a little, but we don't get knocked down, which is a big improvement. I think a lot of the best dialogue in the game happens when you're talking with the bad guys, just the regular bad guys, not anyone special. And I guess I was wrong about them being helmets. We can easily get a lot of black reputation points here with no real negative side effect. We still get into the panic room no matter what, and we got plenty of red points already. So, you know, let's just punch him in the face and then get on to fighting Shocker.
Breathe, Shocker! Hands where I can see them! Don't even let your pinky twitch!
You want to spend some time together? Come closer.
The one room in the whole place that you can't knock the walls down. Never let anybody accuse you of planning ahead.
The Shocker has 3 real attacks. He can shoot a giant blast at us, which we can easily jump over. Yeah, that. He runs at us and he does a leap into the air. Now there's hidden items up above. We can make him break the ceiling to reach those. It's a pretty simple pattern, which is good because he deals a lot of damage. The only time you don't need to jump is when he jumps himself. And when he's recharging his gauntlets, we get a few hits in.
However, the fishnet stockings, while daring, aren't really working for you.
A lot of the bosses don't have explicit openings like the Shocker does, but I guess the Shocker's more of a tutorial boss. Which is weird, because Venom was a lot harder. The big blast the Shocker shoots doesn't have as big a hurt box as it looks. It's still pretty big, but if you jump as he fires it, you're almost always going to dodge it.
Shocker, you're the only guy I know that can wear his grandma's quilt and make it look good. Sort of. Almost. Okay, not at all.
Why in the world would you need 4 safes? Jesus. Maybe this had nothing to do with insurance fraud. Why would you even bother robbing a bank when there's a hotel with 4 safes in it? Just why? The reason we used all of our power-ups during this stage is because the Shocker is easily the easiest boss in the game. So, there's no reason to waste any of those on him.
You're like a human joy buzzer. Oh, but thanks, by the way, for not being a human whoopee cushion.
Like I said, I think Spidey's voice actor is actually pretty decent, especially when he's delivering quips. As a child, it took me the longest time to figure out that the Shocker's powers were not electricity-based, because he's called the Shocker, and it didn't occur to me.
But it is nice that you carry your own padded room with you.
And it didn't occur to me that his name was referring to the earthquake kind of shock, and not the zapping kind of shock. Very different.
What do you want from me?
I need to borrow your mittens. You won't be needing them in prison.